I think we've seen a cultural shift a little bit nowadays because people don't really stay in bad marriages as much as they used to. Now that narrative of, oh, compromise as a woman, we are seeing fewer and fewer people of that mentality, and a lot more people choosing to save themselves, choosing to protect their children's interests by knowing full well that there is no reason for me to stay in a bad marriage because my children are seeing this play out in front of them, and they will not, like, it will not impact them in a positive light if we continue to stay in this relationship. We're seeing that shift in that direction, and I'm happy that we're seeing that shift. But there's still stragglers who, for some reason, they still just do not want to hear the message. And I think then that is why the question of, is it better to stay in a bad marriage better than having a divorce? Now, there are many ways of looking at it. There is the personal way of looking at it, which is why and how a lot of people are leaving these bad marriages. But there's also the scope of society, community, the culture where you've been raised, your family, their family. All of these dynamics do play a major role in deciding this question for yourself. And I know it becomes harder, especially when you have a lot of families involved. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. And if you sit down and listen to everyone's opinion today, they'll probably end in 5 years and you're still in your bad marriage. So, one thing's for sure, the stigma of divorce is not as bad as it used to be. Before, if someone told you, oh yeah, I got divorced, or I'm thinking about getting a divorce, it would be this, how would you can't. And even if you actually did end up leaving the marriage, you'd find that your community excommunicates you slowly. Nobody, you're like red piping hot lava. Nobody wants to be near you or touch you. Nobody wants to be associated with you, especially as the woman. They'd be like, yeah, you will bring bad energy into my own marriage. It was always a thing of, they segregate you and you end up being alone, having to find new friends, new community, and so on. And it became so hard for women to leave marriages. However, now where I'm sitting, I think there's so many support groups. There's so many other women who've gone through the same thing. There's so many other men who've gone through the same thing. So the stigma has worn off quite a bit. And for that reason, I'm 100% of the school of thought that divorce should be significantly better than being in a bad marriage. But we will discuss it a lot further. Where do you stand on the matter?
Honestly, if it is no longer serving you, if it is abusive, if you're not happy, because at the end of the day, that's what matters, your happiness. If you're not happy, if you're not, being watered, get a divorce. And there's honestly no reward for you staying and compromising. I feel like we grew up in a lot of situations where we saw compromise on the side of the woman, where we saw the wife always doing the most, always making sure that her marriage was working when the other party was just not involved or bothered. We saw how detrimental it was, how jaded older women became. And even you can hear it in their advice, even when they're telling you, oh, kuvumilia tu, it's not from a place of happiness, it's from a place of compromise. And honestly, even if you are talking about the impact it will have on the children, your children thrive from what they see. And children are not dumb. Children are not easily fooled. You may think they may not know what's going on, but they are more perceptive than you give them credit for. So I am not for the school of stay for the children, stay for the well-being of the children. No, a lot of co-parenting situations work. If it's not working for y'all, it's not working for y'all. Separate. It is not you denying them a father or a mother in their lives. It's you choosing better for yourself. It doesn't take away that they'll have a father or they'll have them a mother. No, I'll simply not have a husband. I'll simply not have a wife. But you, as my child, continue to have a mother and a father. It's not as simple, but always choose what you would want your children to know and grow from and think is normal.
Yeah, I think another major issue that usually comes to play when it comes to staying in a bad marriage versus divorce is finance. You find that a lot of situations still, even now, yes, women are getting more independent, men are being more open to staying on their own. However, in some marriages, in a lot of marriages, people are still very much dependent on each other financially. You find, like, in a family where it's a double income household, without one income, could something will go wrong, especially if children are involved. And in a case where one person is the sole breadwinner and the other person is solely responsible for the children, finances coming into play there can lead to like a really rough mental toll on deciding whether to leave or not. Because if you are financially dependent on someone, you will stay in that bad marriage on the promise to yourself that I will make money, I will leave. I will make money, I will leave. But as you're saying all these things, guess what? Time is still moving and you're still staying in this bad marriage. If and when you decide to leave, whether you are financially there or not, always remember there's so many others who've left with nothing and they've managed to strap themselves by the bootstraps, work hard, and finally made some sort of headway financially. Like, it's not do or die, you know. In these cases where people are struggling with finances, why not leave the child with the sole breadwinner until you're able to get on your feet? Because you going with the children is also a huge impact on your finances. And a lot of children find it difficult to also like acclimatize. You know, you've gone from private school, like we've seen, I forget her name. She said this story so many times about the fact that she was in the UK, she was, you know, in a good school, her dad was taking care of her financially, her education. But then there was this scuffle with the mother, and she ended up being moved to Kenya, where she had to go to like a public school, which was very different for her. She had to like really adjust to what life would have been. Basically, she came back to Kenya and started like figuring out school. And it was difficult. Like, you've lived a very different life of affluence, and now you've gone back to this life of like, we're making it. We're not poor, but we're not affluent, you know. It can be a huge challenge to children. So sometimes you can just leave the children with the person who's the breadwinner until you're able to get on your feet, right? I don't know why people always make it like, oh, you have to live with the children. No, just leave the children with the person with the money. Let them continue to take care. It's their children too, right? Let them take care of the child. You figure it out. When you're able to like get yourself on your feet, you can take your children or you can share custody. But that financial dependency tends to come a lot in those cases where people just want to live with the whole, all the responsibilities are now thrusted on you. It will be overwhelming. You may end up going back. So I think that would be the way I'd go.
That is true. And also, it's really unfair when you're stuck in a relationship or a marriage where your growth, your achievements are not supported, where any interest you have is just like, oh, you just want to spend money, you just want to waste money, or anything you want to pursue is, but we could be doing something better with that money. So imagine you approach your husband and say, hey, I would like to start a business, I am good in this and this and this and this, and they actually say, that's a good idea. And they avail resources to you, and I can help you, how can I help? And you're able to thrive, you're able to grow. That makes sense. But now imagine you approach your husband with, hey, I'd like to pursue this, I'd like to do this. And they're like, so that you can waste money, just focus on raising the children, stop doing all of this. Do we need money? Like, just calm down. It's very frustrating. And I'm not saying divorce your husband if he does not support any pipe dream that you have. All I'm saying is be in a relationship where you're supported, where your personal growth is also a thing, where you do not have to lose your self-identity. Because when you stay in such situations, you become a shell of yourself. Like, you no longer know you anymore. And we see in such situations, there are even movies about it, where this woman spent her whole life raising the children, and then her husband cheated on her and she got divorced, and then that is when she's now pursuing her life at 50, 60 years old and doing a Euro trip. Yeah, it's good, but babe, imagine if you could have done it like done this like 20 years ago, you know, like you stayed and held on to a version, an idea of marriage that clearly was not there, where you were the only one compromising, and now you're sad and depressed, and now you've been forced into divorce, and now you're finally discovering yourself. It's good, but imagine if you could have done it like 15 years ago. Would it not have been better? So always choose what serves you at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And more importantly, think about your long term happiness. For some bad marriages, you can quickly and easily seek counseling and start to resolve your issues. And it has worked for many relationships. However, if both parties aren't willing to seek counseling and outside help, I think it's better to just go your separate ways. Yes, it will take a while for you to adjust and to figure it out and to be on your own and to find happiness within yourself, but it's better to try and take that journey on your own if your person is not being supportive and trying to seek help where it is clearly needed. These are our opinions. Let us know your thoughts on the number 07 right here. And that's the end of our show. My name is Kathomi Kathomi. See you tomorrow.
My name is Tarife. See ya.